Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of self-examination. For those of you that are new, for those of you that are just joining us for the first time, uh, just a little summary of what we do. About a year ago, we started this journey of self-discovery, and what that was, is bringing us to a conscious awareness of ourselves, returning back home to our original blueprint, our original manuscript, before we inherited all the belief systems and the traditional norms and the social structures and all the things that shape our identity and our personalities. And we grow up not knowing really who we are. Why? Because we were shaped by external agencies. So a journey of self-discovery is coming back home to ourselves. And once we kind of got at home, now we start examining ourselves. So now we have leveled up, if you will, upgraded, elevated now to the journey of self-examination and identity architecture. And what that is, I find it fascinating, but not even equally, very challenging, because what happens is that it brings you to a place where it brings you to a mirror that's going to challenge your integrity. Do you want to be honest with yourself? With really who you are and the things that you discover about yourself and things that you didn't even know? Or do you want to continue the life that you are living? And some of it has to do with, some of it is people are living in survival mode, either survival mode or living a monotonous life by default. Just que sera, whatever it is, and whatever the traditions have dealt each and every one of us. We have that choice. We can choose to redefine our identity in the image of who we are, our authentic self, so that we can live organically, because that's where you'll find freedom, peace, joy, and fulfillment, real fulfillment, not just like clouded by external noise, but real fulfillment. So I encourage you to join us. This show is aired once a week, every Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on this platform, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you can't join me in person or live on the show, then you can pick up the feed 24/7. But now we're really digging into this whole journey of, and you know what? I realize that it's going to be an unending journey, because we are always discovering things about ourselves. For instance, since I've started this, and I've discovered so many things, and as I discover curious about life, about yourself, that want more, that want to expand and learn more, then this is for you. And that's where I am headed myself. Recently you've heard something as action for me. I'm not thinking about the world. I'm talking about me. But it's a phrase. It's a cliche. The early bird gets the worm, or the best worm, something to that effect. You know what I mean? But first of all, I don't want any worm. Of course, I know it's a metaphor, but who says that? Who and why? And then I start changing my whole concept, my whole perspective on that. Sleeping without guilt. And it's not that you can't get up early. As a matter of fact, the other day someone scheduled a meeting for that I had to attend at 7:00 in the morning. I did not even flinch. They said it's at 7:00 and everyone will be there. And I got up at 5 o'clock. Why? Because I had a commitment. I had an appointment. I had a meeting at 7. So I didn't. It's not that you can't get up or you. No one had to drag me up. I did not have to use an alarm, and I didn't need anyone to wake me up. I had a commitment that I made, and I was up at 5 o'clock, had a cup of coffee, showered, got dressed, and I was at that meeting at 6:45 because I had checked the night before. It was at a new place, and new place to me, and I wanted to make sure that I was mindful of traffic and all of that, and the distance and mileage and all of that. So I checked that before, but that was to honor the commitment that I had. So it's not an issue of someone has to wake you up or drag you out of bed. No, absolutely not. It is simply because what works for me. I don't want to be an early bird. I don't care about the worm. I don't want worm. If I have something to do early, I will get up early, but I'm not going to get up early. And I'm just saying this because to me, it's been so significant. It's significant. It's something that I discovered about myself. But because I've been so conditioned that the best minds work early in the morning. Now, if I have to do that now at night, I could stay up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because that's when my creative juices flow better. That works for me. So these are little things that you discover about yourself. I discover, people talk about multitasking. Multitasking is a behavior, a habit that we applaud, right? We applaud someone that can multitask and do a lot of things at the same time. And then the other day, I had something doing, and then somebody asked me to do something else, and I'm like, wait. And then I started giving that some thought, and I thought, I don't need to prove anything. And why do I need to shift gears, put my nervous system in overdrive, using more octane, and multitask for what? Why am I doing that? Why am I over functioning? And the last week I had the opportunity to listen to so many women talking about being an over functioning person in their relationship, as a mother, as a wife, as an employee, just as a person, and they have no time for themselves at all. They don't even know. As a matter of fact, someone said, she said, I don't even know who I am. She says, I have no idea who I am because everything about myself relates to someone else. And today we're going to talk about this whole thing with because what it has served for most of us is a wake-up call. And as we say here, becoming consciously aware of who you are. When we ask someone, when someone asks you, and it's a question that I find rather invasive, who are you? I don't know that anyone really needs to know who you are based on their concept, their idea, whatever. No, but you need to know who you are because therein lies your freedom, your joy, your peace, your fulfillment, your life fulfillment. You should know who you are, your worth, your value, your standards, your boundaries, your limitations as far as non-negotiables and all of that. You need to know because when you know, what happens is that it cements the foundation of your self-respect. And when you say no, you know why, and that settles it. You don't have to go through any kind of explanation or feeling any kind of way or think you might be ostracized or rejected or whatever. No. When your foundation is deep, then you stand taller in your conviction, in the things that you know about yourself. And not only do you strengthen your own self-respect, but other people respect you for walking in that assertiveness, in that certainty. So, but most of us, when we talk about, when somebody asks, well, who are you? Now, let me tell you, if you have to associate who you are with someone else, that is not the response. You don't know who you are because you came in alone and you're going to leave alone. You came into this world alone and you're going to leave alone. So when you are doing that search, that journey of self-examination, and you're trying to figure out, well, who you are, if you have to attach it, like, you're somebody's wife, you're somebody's partner, you're a mother, you're a father, you are an employee, you are a sibling, you are somebody's auntie or niece, nephew, and all of that. If you have to associate it to a person or a thing, then you still have not arrived at the place of understanding of who you really are, because those people are going to be gone from your life, or you will be gone from their lives. So it's not sustainable. In your search, if you cannot attach someone, say, well, I am the proud mother of this athlete. Well, it's not about you, it's about the athlete, and their success doesn't, you may be proud, but that doesn't really substantiate knowledge of self, of who you are. So we need to get away from that. We need to get away from that mindset, because our identity is generally shaped by the roles we play and the labels that's been assigned to us, and a lot of inherited social expectations. Um, because society have their own rules, their own patterns, behaviors, habits, and cultural nuances that's expected of everyone. And if you go outside of that, you're sometimes labeled an extra. Well, yeah, she's extra, or yeah, she's something else, or whatever. But there's certain, every society has a structure that we oblige to, and all of that, the labels, the roles we play. You play the role, you probably play the role of a daughter, you're somebody's child. You play the role of a mother, you play the role of a wife, you play the role of a sibling. There's so many roles that you play, and that's each of us, of course, that you all of those roles shape you, and then of course you're labeled. You have a role to play, and as you make decisions concerning your life, concerning the changes that you implement as you discover things about yourself, some of it can cost you. It can cost you relationships, it can cost you friendships, it can cost you uh, uh, resources, employment. One person said the other day, she woke up and she thought, and every day was like a Monday for her. She hated to go to work. And as she can continue to become consciously aware of who she is, she said, you know what? I have got to do something about this, because it's not helping my nervous system. That's the whole thing. When your nervous system is regulated, then you come into a place of peace, clarity. You can think clear. You dispel fear, and you come into that place of your authentic self. And so she started strategizing a way. She started devising a plan so that she could quit her job. As a matter of fact, she said, she thought she might just call in and quit at the same time, but then she realized that that wouldn't, for her, it wouldn't have been the smartest. Gotta cross my legs here. Feels good. That would not have been the smartest uh, plan for her at this time. So she started to devise, come up with a plan where she can, first of all, decide what she wants to do, and then see how she's going to do it. She had a strategy panned out. But what happens is that as you continue to uh, reframe and examine and all the different areas of your life, you start taking inventory. And I don't know, life is so fast, and that's why if we don't kind of like take it down a notch, slow down a little bit, so that we can really not only enjoy life but enjoy ourselves, then you go through and things happen. People get anxious, they get depressed, they come down with autoimmune diseases and things of that, because all of that has to do with your mindset, the way you think, the way you live, the habits you have, the emotions you go through, and the patterns you entertain, and all of that. But if you can regulate your nervous system, once you have an understanding of yourself, to understand your peace, to understand, inventory your peace. How does that, when you inventory your peace, your peace, when does that happens? Where does it happens? And how often does it happens? Is it something that goes with you, that you are mindful of every time? Before I started this show, I had a really big technical issue here, and I'm the one that have to go researching and finding out all of that. And it happened last week. I thought I had it fixed, and this week, the same thing. And I had to pause. I had to really pause, and so that I could think. I had so many opportunities to get frustrated and impatient and exhausted and angry, because the platform that I use, there's no customer service folks that I can call. You have to kind of figure things out yourself. At least I don't know of any. But anyway, it was just a high level of frustration. But I decided, I'm gonna just pause and just do it. And I tried, like, I don't know, 5-6 times, and then I was able to finally open it. But while I was doing it, or after, I guess, I realized that I was so calm and at peace. I'm like, whatever. And if I can't get it working, then I would have to upload a replay for today. But I got it working, and so here we are. So when you inventory your peace, what is it that you're feeling? When is that happening in your life? At what point? Is it during your morning coffee? Do you really have that moment of peace where you can get with yourself and your thoughts and so forth? Does it happen at night before you go to bed? Does it happen at work, during your break, during your lunch? Some people, they practice going into their cars. Why? Because instead of going into the lunchroom, they just want a moment of peace. And when that happens, some people want to be in their cars listening to their music. Some people want to be in their cars, some people pray, some people, they get on the phone and whatever it is. But inventory that, inventory your peace. Where is your peace? Where, how often does it happen? How often do you access your peace? Do you ever think of that? How is it disrupted? Do you really have your peace? I remember when I was at in corporate America, and for the employees that was, in my, under my responsibility, I created what I called a quiet room, because the nature of the work that we did was very stressful, and I created a quiet room. And I went out and I bought this tree, and I bought this boom box, and I bought these CDs. At the time there were CDs of soft instrumental music, only instrumental music. Then I had all these motivational posters on the wall. And then I had dimmed light, a huge conference table, and beautiful chairs. And in that room, all you could bring with you was a drink, a soft drink, whatever, something liquid. No food. It wasn't a place where you would come and have lunch, and it wasn't a place where you would come and have a conversation with anyone. You could come in, you could sit, you could read, or just sit and nap if you wanted to. And it was really special, because it's really interesting. That's years ago. But the employees really loved it. And that's what we called it, the quiet room. And I guess you could associate that with peace, because it was so peaceful. And that's what we had the guidelines, like it's not a lunchroom, and it's not a meeting place. And it's not a place where, I mean, if you want to come in and put in your earplugs and listen to your own music, that's fine. But in the background, there was soft background music in the room. And the employees would come in there and, spend 20, 30 minutes and then leave, and they loved it. So when I say your peace, where is your peace? Have you inventoried your peace to know that you are really enjoying that you have seized it, identified it, and that you are really enjoying your peace? Your desires. What are your desires? And I'm not talking about, again, don't bring somebody else into the mix. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you yourself. You and yourself. What are your true desires for your life? If you had to write it out, what would those desires be? Have you inventoried that to even know what things you desire at this stage of your life? Have you even inventoried that? Or you just simply go along with whatever happens, happen? I just go along, and, each day is like some people would say, I just take one day at a time. That means you are left to the elements. You allow yourself to be left to the elements. Whatever happens. Que sera, sera. Some people live that way, and as a result, the life is by default, and it's just very monotonous. And but when you become consciously aware, you start thinking, what are the things that I like? And first of all, do you even think you deserve those things that you desire? Do you deserve those things? Have you inventoried your desires? Have you inventoried that? What are your desires? Your health. Have you inventoried your health? What does that mean to you? At this stage of your life, at any stage of your life, your health, look, your health, your time, your money. For me, it's that order. My health, my time, and my money. Because without health, mental, physical, emotional, Without your health, your overall well-being, really, the other stuff is kind of difficult to accomplish. So when you think about your health, how have you inventoried your health? Do you go along with everything the doctor tells you, or do you run to the doctor every time you have a little symptoms? Because you know what? They will find something. They are trained, the doctors are trained to find. When you have something and you go to the doctor, they are trained to leave you with some sort of diagnosis and medication. I shared before, it's probably, probably 5 years ago. I was having these breakouts on my face, and I didn't know what was causing it. And so I went to a dermatologist, and really good guy, and he looked at me and he said, it's rosacea. And I thought, rosacea, because first of all, I didn't think that pigmented people, dark skin, could have rosacea. I don't remember seeing, simply because if you have a lot of complexion, you see people, they're flush, they're red, and so forth. But a darker complexion, you don't really see rosacea. It's not something that you see it firsthand. Of course, you see the breakout, but not like red or anything, unless it shows up dark. And he said that I had rosacea, and gave me a medication to apply to my face twice a day and so forth. And then when I went to fill the medication, it was like $100 and something. I don't know, like $120 a pop, whatever. So that ointment would have lasted me a whole month. So I would have to refill it every month. So he gave me a refill for 12 months. And so I went immediately to the pharmacy, and I filled the prescription. And I think I used it probably about a week. And for some reason, my intuition kind of kicked in. And I thought, you know what? I don't it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. And I thought, first of all, I said, rosacea, it just didn't feel right at all, at all. So I decided that I will stop taking it, applying that to my face. And I start digging and searching, and then I came up with this, because I didn't used to drink at that time. I never used to drink a whole lot of water because I didn't like water. But then I tapped into this understanding of cucumber lemon water. And ever since, my friend, ever since I discovered that, which was like 3 years ago, that is the drink that I consume. Cucumber lemon water every day. You'll find it in my refrigerator. And I drink 50 ounces, whatever. I don't even subscribe to this 8 glasses of water a day. I don't subscribe to that. I just drink as much fluid to stay hydrated. And with that, my face just cleared and smooth, and not one blemish. Just because I followed my intuition. But you see, I inventoried my health. I was like, wait a minute, I don't eat fast food. I don't eat fast food, and I like fruits. And anyway, it's not that I'm not a vegetarian, but I generally eat stuff that that's nutritious. And but that's me inventorying my health. You have to inventory your health. Lately, I've been inventorying my health, and I am falling short of that I desire. So I am inventorying that. Again, this is all part of the journey of self-examination. I don't want to take for granted that, okay, so this is covered and this is covered and this, and yes, everything is covered, but yeah, I want to kick it up to another level. And that's what I am inventorying right now. Your friendships, relationships. Have you inventoried that? Because understand this, my friend, the person that you were, the version of you that you were a year ago, if you have gone through a journey of self-discovery and returned to yourself, you are not the same person. I am not the same person that many people are comfortable with. I've somebody may say, well, you've changed. Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's not a matter of good or bad, right or wrong. It simply is, it is what it is. The more you become aware, because that's what it is, it's awareness. The understanding has always been there. The changes has always been there. The expansion of your mind, of your thinking has always been there. We are now becoming aware that it's available to us and what it does for us. Are you inventorying your time? Are you inventorying your time? What is it that you are doing with your time? Is your time dedicated to everyone else but yourself? And then at the end of the day, you are exhausted. You are sometimes even resentful and angry because you feel so tired. Why? Because you have not dedicated time for yourself. For you, it's like helping over here, helping over there. This person calls, I'll be there, I'll be there. And, we want to be in favor with people. And sometimes we think it's our responsibility, but sometimes we say no. Not today. I'm not the one to help you do that. You need to learn to do that. Or whatever. You don't even want to. You just like, no, because it's about you. If it's something that you can't do today, but you're willing to do it tomorrow, today doesn't work for me, but we can do it tomorrow. And that's how that is self-authorship. That is personal sovereignty. You take responsibility. You conduct that whole inventory step so that it will benefit you. It is your time. It is your money. It is your health. It is your peace. They're your desires. You have to inventory it, my friend. Your joy. What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? Do you know what that is? Sometimes we do things and we normalize it. We make it. We normalize it. Oh yeah, that's just what we do. We do this. This is just the way we do it all the time. Somebody calls and they expect, because people, have expectations of you, and you have to, I don't, I've heard someone said, and I think I've said that before. You teach people how to treat you, or you teach people how to love you, and so forth. And as I became aware of that statement, I am thinking, for myself, like, why would I have to teach someone how to treat me or how to love me? Regardless, whether it's a spouse, a partner, your siblings, your parents, it doesn't matter. Why would you have to teach someone? No, because you want them to walk in the fullness of who they are, in their authentic self. But as they see the way you treat yourself, people will mimic that. And you will have the option to decide if you want to participate in the way they conduct their lives or their interaction with you. The way you're, if it's your, some kids, they grow, they leave the house, and they don't call you, they don't visit you, and they're okay with that. Why? Because they have their lives, they have their families, and they have things that they have assigned priority to, and it's certainly not you, mom or dad. Now, you don't get mad. You respect that, and you decide that you don't want to, in other words, if you're the one that's calling all the time, that's visiting all the time, that's sending a cash app, for the kid's birthday and this and that, whatever, if you're the one that's doing that, if you want to participate in the lack of reciprocity, then that is your decision. But if you're saying, no, this is not going to work for me, I am not going to participate in the way they choose, not just to treat you, but to prioritize you. You are not the priority. You are not the priority. And you don't force yourself upon anyone. And you don't try to teach someone how to love you, because this girl, she was dating this person, and she shared, and she said she had to teach him how to love her. Well, first of all, you only know the guy for what, 6 months or something like that. Well, if he doesn't know how to love you, or if he hasn't learned how to read your love language, then it's just a decision that you have to make, and that's to keep it stepping. Because people show up as they are. Of course, when you meet someone, there's always the performative act to impress. But after a while, people just default into being who they are. Julie shared, she shared not too long ago. She said 2 years ago, she went to Costco, and she walked out with this, her cart and these bulky items, a whole bunch of stuff. It was like, full. And she was on her way to her car, and a middle-aged gentleman said to her, "Ma'am, where's your husband?" Because again, I guess he probably saw that she had so many things that she would have to unload and so forth. He says, "Where's your husband?" And she was, I guess he was friendly enough that she responded, "Well, he's at home. He's at home, probably chilling." And he said, "Well, he should be with you. He should come with you and do the shopping with you, so you don't have to carry all that bulk." And she says, "Well, no, I'm fine." Julia said that once she unload the cart and put the stuff in the trunk, she sat in her car and she began to sob and sob and sob and cry and cry. And she was crying because of the history in her relationship with her partner. She had been asking him, she asked him time and time again to join her, because, to join her as she goes to Costco, not to the grocery store, but to Costco. She has a weekly run there, and he would say, "No, I don't want to do that." So she sat in her car and she started inventorying the history of the relationship. And then she said in her mind, "But that's not my idea of a partnership." She says, I want a partner. I want a partner who I can do things with, and really just even the little things, enjoy the moments together, and she was just sobbing because she knows that she had asked for that so many times, and she said, "No, you do that. I'm not going to no Costco. You can do it yourself." And Julia said she was just so sad. So she walked out, and she got home and unloaded the things, and then she shared it with her husband, her partner. She said her partner because she talked about wanting a real partner. I guess he was her husband because she's now divorced, and I'm assuming that it was from that 2 years ago. And he said something to the effect, "Well, that man needs to mind his own business. I'm not going to no Costco." And it just hit her. So from that moment, she started just inventorying her life, and and looking at things if it lined up with her desires, the desires she had to be in partnership with someone, to be in a relationship, a committed relationship, a partnership with someone. She started inventorying, and then she realized that she'd been carrying the burden of that relationship all this time. She'd been carrying it. And I don't know the details as to how it happened and when it happened, but the point is, they're no longer together now because she said, Julia said, what she had to do really was she had to regain her self-respect, because she said, I abandoned myself. I abandoned my desires. I abandoned my peace. She abandoned it because she had so much load to carry. She abandoned her peace. She abandoned her health, her emotional health, because she started getting anxious and depressed and angry and frustrated and exhausted. So she abandoned that. She betrayed herself. Her time. She and in the meantime, her partner really had a lot of chill moment to do whatever, sit and do Netflix and play games and so forth. And so she started getting really angry. She started becoming very angry and exhausted and so forth. And then at night, at night when she is finally exhausted and going to bed, then of course she has issues with access, and then she started rethinking, what, my emotional bank is empty, my emotional cup is empty, there's no connection. And she started, it was a real interesting story because you don't think of it that way. You don't, again, this journey of self-examination makes you examine a whole bunch of stuff. And for her, it was one of two things: accept the relationship as it was, because she realized that her partner was not about to change anything. He did not want to be bothered. He did not want to change. And I don't really, these things about someone changing, I don't even know if that's sustainable. Just like for me, when people talk about love is not sustainable. Unless you have the things that goes along with that, and that is attention, vulnerability, humility. And when I say humility, I'm not talking about that false humility, like, no, I'm talking about setting your ego aside and setting your your ego and attitude and all of that, your preconceived ideas about a situation, your defensiveness. That is, you instead of being defensive when you're confronted with someone, you listen and you hear and you hear the other person. You try to figure out or work it out, try to figure out how to fix it. So when I say love is not sustainable, people say that all the time. Oh, I love you, love you, love you, love you. But it is not sustainable on its own. It requires a whole bunch of other things that goes with it, that feeds your mind, your emotion, your soul, not just your body. Because Julia said, at night she could not allow access because her soul was empty. That's deep, because wow, when you start looking into yourself and making inventory, and she said, I had to rescue my self-respect. I had to seize it. I had to rescue it, because it was like she did not realize that she had abandoned her self-respect. She had abandoned her self-respect. And taking on assignments, taking on responsibility that did not correspond her in the house. I mean, she made it upon herself that, every Monday I go to Costco, and or whatever Saturday I go to Costco, and this is what I do. And sometimes we just take on responsibilities that are not ours. If you like to do something, that's one thing. But once you inventory your desires, then you start thinking differently. Differently. You start living as though you matter. Have you thought about that? Are you living as though you matter? Or are you just there for the ride to take care of everyone else but yourself? You're just there. Somebody calls and you're right there. For you, that's what you have normalized. You have trained yourself to believe, to think that that's what brings you joy. Do you know what happiness looks like for you? What genuinely brings you joy? And do you believe you deserve it? What does happiness looks like for you? What does it look what brings you joy? Seriously, authentically. I mean, really. What brings you joy? And I'm not saying, just take off all the brakes. Don't say, well, if I had money, I would do this, or if I had the resources, I would do it. No, 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 no. What genuinely brings you joy? How do you define happiness? What does happiness means to you? What does happiness means to you? What does joy? How do you define it? How much time are you, now, if you're good with the way you are, then don't change a thing. But if you're beginning to question these things, then I would encourage you to continue unpacking, inventorying all those areas of your life. Your relationships, your marriage, your kids, your siblings, your parents. They are all adults. I don't give anyone a slack because they say, well, those are my parents. Yeah, you love your parents, but they're all adults. And the relationship, well, you determine what works for you. For me, when I had my mom, I didn't mind calling her 3-4 times a day, just because I enjoyed the things we shared. And well, we were far apart, but I enjoyed talking to her, not because I felt like I had to call her. No, never felt that way, because as a matter of fact, my dad, I didn't have that kind of relationship with my dad, so I hardly called him. But my mom, at least 3 times a day, and I loved it. I determined that brought me joy. Just talking with her, I could just share anything with her, and I love that. So you determine what that means for you. What does happiness looks like to you? If I were to say, what does happiness looks like to you? How do you define that? What does that look like to you? Now, do you believe you deserve it? Do you think you deserve it? Do you think I deserve to be happy? I deserve to be happy, and I'm going to do this so that I can be happy. Not too many people live thinking or knowing or accepting, acknowledging, recognizing that they deserve it. A lot of people think they have to, that life is, we know life comes to us in different ways. But what are your expectations, my friend? What are your expectations when it comes to your emotions, your joy, your peace, your time? And when it has to do with, as you go through this journey, examining every area of your life. Don't settle for crumbs. Don't settle for the bare minimum and then normalize it. Oh, at least I hear from them, once a month, whatever. No, don't settle for, don't. The journey of identity architecture. You are designing, you are emerging who you are, your identity. You are understanding better your worth, your value, setting standards that works for you unapologetically. You don't apologize. You don't try to soften situations to feed relationships or to be accepted or acknowledged, or none of that. None of that. You set the standards for yourself. You set the standards for yourself. You set the boundaries for yourself. This kicks it up a whole notch. Your confidence will grow in such a, because once you start realizing, wait a minute, I've been settling for this, I've been settling for that, I've been settling for breadcrumbs, I've been settling for the bare minimum, and I have been abandoning my needs, my wants, my desires, my time, my health, my peace, my joy. I've been abandoning myself in those areas. My friend, I'm going to leave you with that so that you can sup on that. And that you will continue to unpack it. You'll be amazed the things that you discover about yourself. But the key is you have to decide if you're going to be brutally honest with yourself and tell yourself the truth. I've discovered some truth about myself and things that I was like, wait a minute, Cynthia, you've abandoned yourself in this area. You've betrayed yourself in this area. And it's a good thing, because then it makes me aware and blossoming more. It increases your confidence, your assertiveness, helps you, brings clarity. That's the main thing. It brings clarity to your life. That's what Julia had, a moment of clarity when she went into her car and start crying, because she realized, wait a minute, she had normalized that whole dynamics between her and her husband, and her over functioning, and him having lots of opportunities to chill. Every Thursday we meet right here, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you can't meet me then, see these icons over here: YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can pick up the feed 24/7. If you need to drop me a note, here's the address: info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. And I will either respond to you, and some of you have asked to contact me and so forth. We'll see what works for both of us. So, but you can touch base with me at info@thecynthialinoxshow.com. I will see you next Thursday, same time, same place, the Cynthia Linox Show, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. In the meantime, have a phenomenal weekend. Of course, after tomorrow, And I will see you next week. Ciao, amigos. Enjoy. And here we go.